Okay, with your permission, should we start the program now?
Oh, please. Yes.
Okay.
It's good to see you again.
Good to see you, all of you. Thank you very much. Thank you for once again for supporting this event and make us able to host 11th World Religions Conference. We miss you a lot. We wanted to be with you, but because of this pandemic situation, we all have to isolate ourselves in our areas. But we are lucky that we can join with the Zoom channel or Google Meet. Thank God they have this kind of thing. Otherwise, we'll be just talking to each other on the telephones. So with that, thank you. And those guests are joining us and still joining. We thank you for their support for this program. So without further ado, all the panels are here. The moderator, Chief Doris Bill is with us. Uh, Honorable Larry Bagnall, Member of Parliament for the Yukon is with us. So we'll start the program. So I request Mr. Naveed Mirza to start the program with the recitation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May peace and blessings of Allah be upon all of you. A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Huwallahu allazi la ilaha illahu الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر Subhanallahi amma yushrikun. Huwallahul khaliqul bari'ul musawwiru المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. Translation: I seek refuge from Satan the cursed in the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful. He is Allah, and there is no God beside him, the sovereign, the holy one, the source of peace, the bestower of security, the protector, the mighty, the subduer, the exalted. Holy is Allah far above that which they associate with him. He is Allah, the creator, the maker, the fashioner. His are the most beautiful names. All that is in the heavens and the earth glorifies him, and he is the mighty, the wise. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now I request Mr. Naeem Lakhan to bring the message of the National President, Mr. Lal Khan Malik, and also give introductory remarks.
You're on mute.
Please unmute yourself. Okay, now.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful. Assalamu alaikum. May peace be on you all. Dear brothers and sisters, We are indeed very fortunate and blessed to live in a country and a society where different faiths can freely and peacefully exchange their ideas and can present their point of view in front of others. On behalf of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, I welcome you all. By holding this event, Ahmadiyya Muslim community is continuing a noble tradition of interfaith dialogue started by the founder of the community, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, may peace be on him. In 1895, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, may peace be on him, invited all the major faiths for an interfaith conference in his hometown of Qadian in India. A conversation and dialogue regarding various faiths can provide us with a new perspective and can make us more insightful to the world around us. As most of us know that the guidelines of this event restrict the presenters from criticizing any other faith. Presenters are requested just to give their own faith's perspective and then leave it to the audience for any takeaways or do any comparative analysis. Dear brothers and sisters, these days we mostly get information about other faiths from the media, which may or may not be authentic. Many of us do not normally get a chance to know and learn about the other faiths from their own sources. And there's that special opportunity today. I'm looking forward to an exciting and informative evening. And once again, I welcome you all on behalf of our National President, Mr. Lal Khan Malik. And thank you very much for your time and effort in attending the 11th World Religions Conference in Yukon. May God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Naimlakan. Now I'll request Honorable Larry Bagnall to give the welcome remarks and the message of Prime Minister.
Merci. Drinkwizi Shilikat. And I'm delighted to welcome everyone to the 11th World Religion Conference in Whitehorse, Yukon. And I'd like to thank the Ahmadiyya Muslim community for hosting these events, which for many years and around the world, they bring so much peace and understanding. And everyone, I think, appreciates that so much. And thank Reverend Beverly Brazier and the United Church for years of hosting this very important event and the understanding it provides to Yukoners. And I'm speaking to you from the traditional territory of Chief Doris Bills First Nation, the Kwanlin Dun, and also the Tonquatchin Council. And I'll be very, very brief because we have some wonderful speakers today. You know, if there was better understanding and tolerance of the world's religions, millions of people who were persecuted and died would not have died. And that's why this is so important to me and why I have, as you know, for a number of years, attended this as a speaker or a moderator, and as Stu Clark knows, spoken a number of times. It's also important to the Prime Minister, who you've heard so many times say, diversity is our strength. And it's obviously important to all the observers who are online tonight, because you're here. And there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is that you're here, but it's a bit like preaching to the converted. The bad news is that the people that really need to be here aren't. And so I look forward to you. I look at you as like apostles, that the knowledge, the extra knowledge you get tonight that you may not have got in other years, will help you continue your efforts to keep the faith alive and to keep the Yukon a loving and welcoming place. Merci, Masicho, goodness cheese.
Thank you very much. That was a beautiful message. And I was always happy that as he becomes a family member of us, and I'll say it that way, hosting a conference, moderating conference, and helping us to grow. Thank you very much for having such a positive attitude and promoting the love and the peace. Now, the time is to introduce Chief Doris Bill as a moderator of this conference. I happen to know her 4 years ago when she first came to annual convention of Western Canada in Calgary. Since that, I developed a great respect for her contribution, the stories that she shared to me. She is really a courageous woman, and I salute to her for her contribution for her people, and especially for Kwallan First Nation. Short introductions that she is working to build type of a community. She's always wanted to live in one that is superlative, healthy, and safe for all people. Throughout time in office, Bill has a focus on many issues close to her heart. She works to amplify the voices and improve the outcome for the vulnerable people, such as the homeless, women, children in crisis, and people facing trauma and addiction. So as you can see that she's doing her best for her people and for the Canada, I'll say also in the way she's contributing that helps to make the country stronger. So thank you very much, Chief, for accepting our invitation to moderate the conference. We will hand over mic to you now. As I have requested to you that every speaker has a 9 minute to share this perspective. Hopefully we will able to conclude on time. With this short remarks, hand over to you, Chief. You can start the program.
Well, thank you very much. I don't think I need 9 minutes, but I'll just start by saying thank you very much for that introduction, and hello everyone in Dunjay. Again, my name is Doris Bill. I am Chief of the Kwallan First Nation. We are one of the largest self-governing First Nations in the Yukon. Our community is based in the Yukon's capital of the city of Whitehorse. I'm so pleased that I can join you as moderator for the 11th anniversary World Religions Conference. I believe the theme of this conference, how to keep faith alive in the present day, is so very appropriate given the pandemic we are dealing with right now. Here in Yukon, we have 2 active cases. I know that probably doesn't sound like a lot where you are from, but we've had a very trying year. In addition to dealing with COVID, we have dealt with freezing temperatures, record snowfalls, and for a while, isolation. As for First Nation people, community is so important to us. Something we are missing is coming together for potlatches and special occasions, and to be there for one another in trying times. Being online for events like this does help people to remain connected. Mental health has become very important amongst our people. It's a challenge during these difficult times to reach out to people because not everybody is reachable. We do what we can to help each other get through this together. As we look to spring and more people get vaccinated, the snow is starting to melt, the sun is starting to shine. And as we are able to gather outside and see people's faces and hear their voices in person, it warms the heart and has been good for the soul. We look to the Creator to help us through this, to give us guidance to make the right decisions, and to bring us together in these challenging times, even though we have to remain apart. For me, today is about reaching out in the spirit of reconciliation. As First Nation people, we are not always looking to non-First Nation people to advance reconciliation going forward. It is very much a two-way street. With that, I want to extend a warm welcome to everyone. everyone who has joined us online for this very important conversation. And again, each speaker will have 9 minutes. And we will start off with the Baha'i perspective with Linda Thorson. And Linda is a member of the Baha'i community of Canada. The Ms. Chiefs.
Ganesh, thank you. I'm very happy to have this opportunity. I moved from the Yukon, but gosh, listening to you, I'm thinking of all the friends I love so much. And I'm so happy to recognize people when I come here. So thank you so much. Keeping faith alive in the present day. So I too want to thank the Ahmadiyya Muslim community for hosting the event that brings together the blessings and teachings of God as a service for the betterment of all. And I really want to extend a warm and loving appreciation to those whose tireless efforts organize and facilitate this gathering. I'm so moved really by that. So in my contemplations of today's topic, keeping faith alive in the present day, I've been ruminating on the divine plan, you know, the idea that there's this support and love in the world. And I've been considering God's divine covenant with humanity that assures us we are not alone and there is a divine purpose that transforms us personally and brings forth an ever-advancing civilization. This covenant, I know, is probably expressed for many of you, but it's often fulfilled by a promise that God will send messengers with laws and ordinances and guidance and principles that activate an ever-evolving maturity to know and recognize our purpose. In this forum, I feel anyways, I've often heard the echo of how we share an understanding of our faiths and how similar they are in many ways, of a creator or maybe spiritual paths of wisdom revealed in dreams and stories, as well as traditions and teachings that honor our spiritual oneness with the earth. I've really appreciated a lot of those contributions. And we have agreed, I think, that learning and practicing qualities and attributes like love and justice, peace and kindness through knowledge and contemplation result in a better self, a better world. A true man, as Baha'u'llah would say, shining and resplendent character that influences and educates the world of being. So what I've witnessed in these interfaith forums is that what unites us is our desire to share wisdom that we hope offers peace and prosperity for humanity and for the preciousness of the earth. It is in this spirit of unity that honors the diversity. Am I okay to go ahead? Am I okay to go ahead? I'm confused.
Okay, I think, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so it is in the spirit of unity that honors the diversity of our views. I do really humbly offer my reflections on some of the unique features of Baha'u'llah's revelation, which keep my faith alive in this present day. So what I think one of the unique features of Baha'u'llah's revelation is that the revealed word of God has been preserved through a clear delineation of successorship, achieved through the written wills and testaments of the founders of the faith. Thus, for maybe the first time in the unfoldment of God's relationship with us, we are invited to judge for ourselves the verities, insights, and historical evidence of the prophets' lives and their successors, the value of their teachings, and whether or not they are of any benefit to humanity's prosperity, maturity, and advancement. As you may be aware, there are no clergy in the Baha'i faith. A very brief synopsis of the administrative orders is that there are elected councils known as spiritual assemblies at the local and national level, and at the international level, the Universal House of Justice. The elections take place through prayer and secret ballot that everyone participates in equally. There is no electioneering. There is assistance from an international teaching center with appointed counselors, and their auxiliaries to help encourage all the members of the community to study the teachings of Baha'u'llah's revelation and support the plans of the Universal House of Justice. The Universal House of Justice is the divine body that protects the purity of the teachings and encourages everyone to seek understanding through consulting together, applying our understanding, and reflecting on how our efforts uplift hearts and serve humanity. I find this interesting. This framework invites everyone into an intimate companionship, really, with God's preserved word, and provides a system of administration that is collaborative and guided by God's teachings. In this case, we see the focus is not, it has been explained, solely on the individual believer or the community or the institutions of the faith. All three are inseparable participants in the evolution of relationships that are stimulated by the spiritual forces released through the unfoldment of a divine plan. This really excites me, this idea that there's that flowing out. However, I wonder, does this vision of being guided by a divine design bring hope? Or does feeling invited into an intimate relationship with God and his teachings sustain us and give meaning and purpose to our lives? Does having a framework that depends on the participation of everyone to release spiritual forces meant to bring about a better world keep faith alive? What the Baha'i community is learning from the dynamic interplay of the individual, the community, and the institutions at the local level is to read our immediate reality and assess resources in the places where we live that help populations to take charge of their own spiritual, social, and economic development. So I hope that this is collaborative, because it's how I see it. It's a collaborative thing. Now, it is noted that through such efforts to bring about the betterment of all, that this is really the very purpose of religion itself. And it is expressed so beautifully here and by the community that is supporting it. It's beautiful. And the Baha'i community is so happy to be part of that. The Baha'i community, what we're learning is really, though, is about growth. It's learning to make plans based on a dynamic of study, consultation, action, and reflection that has cultivated an instinctive posture of learning. So it's trying to build a culture of learning. And it's through our efforts we're developing an appreciation for what it means to give effect to the teachings of God through social action, through offering a Baha'i perspective on discourses prevalent in society, in raising the awareness of a global community that, in all its endeavors, is hastening the emergence of a divine civilization. Faith in the Baha'i community, from this perspective, is kept alive in our efforts to foster inner transformation, to widen the circle of unity, and to collaborate with others in the field of service that supports peace and the prosperity of all people. Now, I find the contrast of the times we live in and the domineering materialistic values in which we're all steeped can lead to despair for me and a lack of hope and faith. So having faith that we are cherished creations, fulfilling a destiny of bringing forth a civilization of peace can sometimes overwhelm me. So I often reflect on how to reconcile my beliefs with the present day rise in, for example, strident and controlling governance, fear of death from an aggressive virus, or from the lack of protection depending on our race, class, gender, or beliefs which threaten our lives. In the face of this, what I found, 1 minute? Okay, well, what I find empowering, I guess, in the face of this is it keeps me focused on a sense of value and purpose. And I feel compassion for the struggles we face together. And I had other things to say, so I'm going to just kind of move on. But I think this idea that we are working together, that we do collaborate, is not only just something we do because of ourselves, but because it's part of what we're doing all at the same time, all together. because we really are one family, that this is an amazing time in history, and it's changing the very people that we are and who we are. So I wanted to just end really with this, that Abdu'l-Baha encourages us to lift up our hearts above the present and look to the eye. We look with the eyes of faith into the future. So we can just keep working at it and being together. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very interesting. I gave you a little bit extra time because you were interrupted there. So
that's okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Next speaker we have will give us the Christian perspective, the Right Reverend Beverly Brazier. Reverend Beverly Brazier is an ordained minister in the United Church of Canada, presently serving in the Whitehorse United Church here on Main Street in downtown Whitehorse. Go ahead, Beverly.
Thank you. So with others, I'm going to say I'm just so thankful to you as one and to your community for doing all of this and for bringing us together. And I'm so thankful to be here on the traditional territory of the Kwanlin Dun First Nation, the Tainkwajin Council. And you've been so faithful in gathering us every year. And maybe what has to be said in a nutshell is, how do you keep faith alive? Just like this, like this. We sang a song through Lent. Lent is in Christianity a build up to Easter, and our theme song has a verse that goes, "We are your people formed in community, sisters and brothers of Adam and Eve. You gave us color, custom, and history. Teach us to honor what others receive." I like that a lot. To honor what others receive. It would be so nice if we could do that graciously and consistently. There's another song, an old one, and it uses older language, but one of the verses goes like this: "We will walk with each other, we will walk side by side, we will walk with each other, we will walk side by side, and we'll guard people's dignity and save people's pride. And they'll know we are Christians by our love, by our love. Yes, they'll know we are Christians by our love." So when I was a teenager trying to decide what life was about and whether it was worth it at all, and if I wanted to be any part of the church at all, that song played a strong role. And I joined the church at 14, starry-eyed, because I believed it was about working together and side by side and guarding people's dignity and saving people's pride. And many years later, and a few degrees in theology later, I still believe that. That's still what I believe. Religion, the word, at its root means to bring together. The Lig is the same root as a ligament, to join, so to rejoin. Religion at its most basic level means to unite, to bring together again. And faith then is not in the end a noun, but a verb. And we don't have a very good track record on that one. And I have to say, I've said this before when I've spoken, but it's really important to say, I'm representing Christianity here tonight, and that's a tall order. And I just can't do that, because Christianity does not speak with one voice on practically anything. And there are those of my sister and brother Christians who would say, if they knew I were here representing them, they would say, she doesn't speak for me. And there are those in our Christian community who would say that I have no right to speak at all because I'm a woman. So that's how it is in our family. And I'll do my best. And to do my best, what I have to do is honor those who feel otherwise, but by at least acknowledging that they exist. And the other thing is that we as Christians come to any conversation like this with blood on our hands, because there are parts of our history, and God forgive us, our present reality as well, that are shameful, just shameful, and for which the only right response is to ask forgiveness and then live as though we mean it. So here we are, it's 2021, and the question before us is about keeping faith alive. The time is long past when we can pretend we don't know that this planet, our common home, is in peril. And the role of faith, partly, is to listen to our earth and listen to the air and the sky and the water and the land, and listen to the poorest of the poor, no matter what language or tradition. Listen to the animals and the children and religion them, bring them together again for the good of all of us, so that we can, oh, here's a thought, live, live. Every day I see people and talk to people in spite of what this culture has promised them, happiness in wealth and success and consuming stuff. In spite of all of those promises, they're lonely and they're searching and they're hungry for meaning and for community. And often they will try anything but religion. Why? Because we've let them down. Because we've let things that are not ultimate things get in the way and block the holy that we say we adore and worship. We've let things separate rather than unite us from the earth, from ourselves, and from each other. So the role of faith is to offer hungry people who are hungry for bread and hungry for meaning, offer them a compelling and real alternative to the empty promises of a culture of power and control and individualism. The role of faith is to call us back to who we really are and why we exist, to call us home. I've read some authors that say it very well. Brian Swim is one of them. But essentially what they're all saying is creation is hardwired for hope and bent toward love. And what has drawn us here today, this evening, and drawn the people who organize an event like this is an energy as old as creation itself. And it's the most powerful thing in the universe, and it can never be destroyed at the level of cells and souls, at the level of stars and galaxies. We are created for union and for love. And that's all very well, but Monday morning comes and there are bills to be paid and diapers to be washed and difficult people to be dealt with and vaccinations to organize, and faith is not something apart from that, but within it, incarnate, a force, a community, a family that tells you who you are and what you're worth and makes you part of a community that can do greater things by far together than you could ever do by yourself. I told my people, my congregation, some of them, that I was coming here. I asked for their input. What should I say? And they said that they too struggle with questions like that, but that faith, as hard as it is to put into words, is a vital force and can be so for good, for peace and justice. They quoted the prophet Micah, do justice, love kindness, walk humbly with God. And they quoted Jesus, who, when asked to sum it all up, said, okay, love yourself, love your neighbor, and love God. So finally, here's the thing for me. The word faith, I was told when I went to seminary, is more properly translated faithfulness. And the faithfulness is not ours, but God's. God is faithful. In the long run, the arc of the universe, as they say, bends toward justice and seeks life. So it isn't ours to keep the faith alive. Faith is alive. There's nothing that can destroy that. We kind of celebrated that last Sunday, but anyway. But faith is alive, and it's ours to tune our hearts and hands to its rhythms and the beating of the heart of our Creator. That's it.
Thank you very much.
How many minutes was that, Chief Doris?
That was, you had about 1:20 left. Yay, winner so far. Next we have, I might mispronounce your name, but maybe you can help me or correct me if I do. Feel free. Next we have Imam Umair Khan. Did I do good? Umair Khan was raised in Toronto and New York as a child and spent his adolescent years in Calgary. Go ahead, Imam.
Assalamu alaikum to all my brothers and sisters of various faiths. Peace be upon all of you. I'll start my talk with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Gracious, the Merciful. So I'm going to get right into it because it's a short amount of time. So I wanted to start today's talk with weight loss. And the reason I wanted to talk about weight loss was that hopefully I'll connect it later. But I wanted to give you, with the pandemic happening, a lot of us are going through this phase where we're eating and gaining a lot of weight. And unfortunately, that happened to me too. And when people usually gain weight, the first thing they'll do is, okay, I have to go to the gym, I have to start exercising. So I tried that and I went to the gym, started exercising, did it for a few months, and then went back on the scale. And guess what? I actually gained 10 more pounds instead of losing those 10 pounds I was trying to lose. And I asked myself that, something's not right. I'm not doing something right. And I did some research and I came across this diet called, keto diet. Some of you may know it. I'm sure you've heard of it. And I read the science behind it, the knowledge behind it. It made sense. When your body doesn't have carbs, it's forced to use the fat in your body to use as energy. And, people lose weight. And I was like, okay, but that's too hard for me. I can't stop eating bread and soda and pizza and a burger without buns. Like, that doesn't make sense to me, right? So I was like, no, that's not for me. And then I was surfing social media and I came across a picture of a friend, and he had a before and after picture and he lost 90 pounds. And I had to ask him, like, how did you lose 90 pounds? And he said, ketosis, keto. And I said, wow. And I said, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. So for the past 12 days, I was like, let me give it a try. And guess what? Today I went on the scale and I lost 9 pounds. And, that was motivation for me that, hey, it worked. And I wanted to bring this into today's talk and I'll share my screen so it kind of hopefully makes sense. But this is exactly what the Quran teaches in terms of faith. It's 3 types of knowledge that the Quran gives: is certainty of reason, certainty of sight, and perfect certainty. So the Quran teaches that if you see smoke, the assumption is that there is a fire. Then the higher level of certainty is that if you go there and you actually see the fire visually, then you've confirmed that, assumption that you had, that there is a fire. And then the highest level the Quran teaches is that when you put your hand close to the fire, you feel that heat, that experience. And that's what I found when I read about ketosis. The knowledge was there. And then I saw a visual of my friend, and that amazed me and motivated me. And then I went through the experience. And now I'm in a position to tell other people that, hey, if you want to lose a quick 10, 12 pounds, you could try this for a couple of weeks. It worked for me. It worked for my friend. It could work for you. So this is exactly what the Quran teaches, is that the Quran is kind of like the knowledge. It's the theory that if you want to attain something very powerful spiritually and morally in your life, here are the teachings. And if you were to study the Quran, very, very logical, makes a lot of sense. But then it begs to ask the question that, does it really work, or is it just talk? So the Quran teaches, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ, that look at the visual of the Prophet Muhammad. Look what the teachings did for him. And that was a visual for, the certainty of sight for a lot of Muslims. That considering Prophet Muhammad, who was born an orphan, no mother, no father from childhood, did not have any influential position, was not educated, was no influential person in his society. But in the span of 23 years of his prophethood, and with severe persecution, he was able to win the hearts of his whole nation within 23 years. I mean, one author, Michael H. Hart, considers him the most influential person in history. And it's really amazing what he was able to accomplish by winning hearts. So that was a certainty of sight, that all the things that the Quran had prophesied and promised the Prophet Muhammad, the victory, upon his people, bringing them towards the belief of one God, he was able to prove that to them and succeed. And then the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that, in the future, a time will come where people's faith will vanish from the earth. And then he said that The way Jesus came as a, Messiah for the people of Moses, the same thing is going to happen to my people. And, a Messiah or a Jesus will come from amongst the Muslims to guide the Muslims back. And that's the part where I come towards the other part, which is certainty of experience. And those of you who know the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, you may know that we differ from other Muslim communities, that we believe the person on your screen to be that Messiah. Now, he said that I followed those teachings of the Quran. I understood that knowledge, and then I understood the visuals and the example of the Prophet Muhammad, and I put it to the test. And then I wanted to share with you this quotation of his experience, of the Islamic teachings. He said, "Our paradise is in our God. Our highest delight is in our God, for we have seen him and have found every beauty in him. This wealth is worth procuring, though one may have to lay down one's life to procure it. This ruby is worth purchasing, though one may have to lose oneself to acquire it. O ye who are bereft, run to this fountain and it will satiate your thirst. It is the fountain of life that will save you. What shall I do, and by what drum shall I make the announcement that this is your God, so that people might hear? What remedy shall I apply to their ears, so that they should listen? If you belong to Allah, rest assured that Allah will indeed belong to you." And so when you see that someone else has been successful by following, that knowledge and that experience, and is in a position the way I'm telling you about losing weight, then a person gets motivated and excited to follow those footsteps. But one thing I've realized, with these worldly examples that I'm giving you, that it is extremely important to have proper knowledge, because I'm giving you my own example. When I was trying to lose weight, I was exercising and I thought I would lose weight, but I didn't, because I did not have the proper knowledge. So proper knowledge, but next step is the execution of that knowledge. And then the third is, what result did it bring you? Has it been effective in your life in trying to attain your goals? And I find that that applies with religion also. And on behalf of Islam, I would say that it has definitely helped to keep faith alive in present days. My experiences and other members of the community who have experienced this have witnessed, different types of amazing things, like the acceptance of prayers and spirituality and higher levels of morality. I don't want to go, I'm not sure how much time is left, but I'm usually hesitant with that,
Well, you have about a minute.
Okay, so this is what I wanted to share. I hope that made sense to some of our friends who are listening. But by following the footsteps of your faith and executing properly, and I noticed that's where a lot of people slack off, is the execution of their teachings. But if you really want to, immerse yourself and enjoy the results of your faith, that execution of the teachings I find is extremely important. And that applies to me along with my other Muslim friends, brothers and sisters who are in that struggle or jihad, that struggle in the way of God, trying to attain these levels that we see these very blessed and righteous people of God, prophets had attained. Thank you for listening to me. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Well, thank you very much. Sorry, I just lost you there for a minute. Next speaker we have will give us the Buddhism perspective, Mr. Rick Buchanan, or Buchan.
Yeah.
Okay. Rick Buchan and his family moved to Whitehorse 24 years ago. And since then, he has carried on his profession as a lawyer and has dedicated his skills volunteering with many community organizations. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chief Bill. And just as a slight factual correction, it was actually 32 years ago that we moved here. And I have to say, or give my thanks, Chief Bill, to you and your people and your ancestors for being the stewards of this precious land. And it is indeed a very special place to live and in which to raise a family and so on. So thank you. And I also express thanks to the organizers of this annual event for the honor of being able to offer the perspectives of Buddhism around the various topics from year to year. So the tonight's theme, how to keep faith alive in the present days, seems to imply that there is that perhaps there's reason to believe that faith is dying in these times. However, from the Buddhist perspective, the Buddha, which term means the awakened one, the Buddha taught that faith should at most be provisional in nature and be relied on only pending one's own discovery of the truth using the methods that the Buddha taught. And there's two spheres within which to practice faith. One is the personal and the other is the collective. Personal faith is focused inwardly and has more to do with one's own individual spiritual development. Collective faith looks outwardly and relates to the general belief in a common set of values and behaviors that lead humanity to live in greater peace and harmony. However, ultimately, the two spheres are interrelated. On the personal level, the Buddha taught that one should practice provisional faith, not blind faith. He told his followers not to accept unquestioningly what he taught them. Rather, he said, learn the methods that he was teaching and then discover the truth through their own experience. And to paraphrase a famous saying from the Buddha, that he said, I have discovered the truth of being, but I cannot give you that truth. I can only show you the way, and it is up to you to follow it. And this in a way, sort of speaking in more modern terms, it models what's been called the scientific method. In other words, you start with a hypothesis, some proposition that has been put to you, and initially you take it on faith. And then through various methods or techniques, you experiment with that hypothesis. And through that process, you experience the results. And this teaching was based on the principle that wisdom and truth are not external to us. Rather, they are inherent within the essence of our being. Another way of saying it is that the divine is within us, but we are also within the divine. In other words, we and the divine are one. They're part of a unified whole. And so the various methods the Buddha taught were rooted in the understanding of the essence of mind and learning how to see through the obscurations created by the conceptualizing and fixation on erroneous concepts that the mind can generate. And that is rooted in a mistaken sense of separation between the individual and the divine. So the basis of the methods that the Buddha taught, and there are many embellishments on the methods, but it's rooted in various techniques of meditation. And so the process begins with provisional faith in what the Buddha taught, but ultimately it leads beyond that faith to an actual understanding of wisdom that is, as I say, taught to be inherent within us. On the collective level, the wisdom and insight one gains through meditation practices are actualized through one's interactions with sentient beings. And these are expressed through such virtues as kindness, compassion, patience, generosity, tolerance, and in other words, sort of various permutations of fundamental love. So the view that arises from this sense of oneness is that all beings are interdependent. And through this interdependence and sustained by goodness manifested by one person, that slowly infects others, who in turn may gradually start to take on similar qualities, which can ultimately have an impact on a whole society. So to adopt a timely metaphor, you can liken it to a slow pandemic of love, with the succession of people infecting one another with their love and kindness and the various virtues that they are generating through greater self-insight, understanding of self, and the relation between oneself and others. However, it's also important to adopt a pragmatic attitude, not one that is Pollyanna-ish, because changes do not of this nature and this magnitude don't come overnight. It's a process that happens incrementally from one being to another through contacts throughout our days and our lives. So in terms of what we can do as individuals, we have to start changing ourselves, and the faith we started with gradually will be fulfilled in the confidence of our experience. And in the collective sphere, with perseverance and patience, we can similarly transform our fundamental faith into an experience of greater good for all. So, contrary to the implication of the title, I would suggest that there is no cause to despair for faith. The fact of there being means for actualizing what faith tells us through our conduct, through our relationships with others, through the insights we can gain through various techniques, spiritual techniques and practices, need not necessarily be meditation. Having listened to my fellow speakers this evening and hearing the common notes of what people have realized through prayer, through contemplation, through action directed at benefiting others, we have evidence there that faith is not dying. However, given the changing circumstances over time, there may be times when faith simply requires being refreshed from time to time. And ultimately it starts with each one of us expressing our hearts and our faith in ourselves, which, to go back to the original concept that if the divine is within us, we are able to, through pure attitude and love and care for all beings around us, we can express that divine those divine qualities in small ways every day. So thank you. I think that's the gong is about to go. So thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Want to continue sometimes? Just I know.
On a roll.
Yeah, it's such a challenge sometimes, you know, to try and condense everything when you have so much to say and so much good things to say. Next up, we have a gentleman that I know. We met many years ago when he was just setting out to preserve the Jewish cemetery in Dawson City. And I learned a bit from this man about the Quran, about the Jewish faith, and that's what he is here to speak about tonight. Rick Karp was born and raised in Ottawa and went to Carleton University for his undergraduate work before moving to Kingston, Ontario, to go to Queen's University for a degree in education. Go ahead, Rick.
You're on mute, Rick.
It's down in the left-hand corner.
Right,
Yeah.
there.
you
Now
go.
can you
There
hear
you
me?
go.
All right, restart the clock. I want to thank the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, as others have, and say I wish we could start at 9 in the morning and go until 9 at night, because there's so much that has been presented so far and more to come. To me, faith is belief, assurance, conviction, confidence in what we hope for, and the assurance that God is working even though we may not see it. Faith, as Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and renowned psychoanalyst, discovered through his experiences in the concentration camps, and I quote, is the most important freedom of all, the freedom to own one's attitude and spiritual well-being, end quote. Frankl saw and experienced that it was those who lost faith, lost hope, lost belief that suffered the most. In Judaism, there is faith that we're heading towards a messianic age, an age of peace. In Judaism, faith is more than just belief in God. It is also belief in the potential, the ability of humanity to achieve. And I quote again, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews 11:1. In Jewish spiritual life, faith is not the starting point of the journey. Uncertainty is not the enemy of religious and spiritual growth. Doubt is what fuels the journey. Indeed, the Torah goes into great lengths to reassure the searching Jew that skepticism is healthy, legitimate, and even celebrated in Jewish life. Therefore, discussion, study, debate, and understanding the implications of the Torah and mitzvot are essential to sustaining our faith. Faith is not absolute. The journey in Judaism is asking questions, seeking answers, learning, studying the Torah, which teaches us that our faith lies in part by following the commandments. As well, the Torah recounts the many stories of our 5,781-year history. We learn about the power of believing, of trust and devotion. And through that history and the stories of our ancestors, we have faith in the future. Though there are many factors that motivate Jews to embark on spiritual journeys, the stories of life that we learn from, question, and seek answers for, as Viktor Frankl again wrote, is man's search for meaning. As we try to accept and understand that there is something greater than ourselves, we try to understand. But if we have hope that even in the darkest moments, we know that all will be well, then we have faith and that will sustain us. Jews around the world just finished celebrating the festival of Passover, which is a time when children ask questions. And the answers to the questions asked by the children is the essence of the Seder. It is the story of the Jews escaping from the slavery in Egypt, keeping their faith and hope for the future as they wandered through the desert, searching to find and return to Jerusalem. At the end of the Seder, we fill a cup of wine for the prophet Elijah. We open the door and invite Elijah to enter. Elijah, the harbinger of the coming of the Messianic age, the age of peace and harmony. The Torah contains the stories of our ancestors, of the struggles and successes of our history. In Judaism, by telling and retelling the stories of the Torah, by teaching their meaning and discussing and debating the questions that arise, we create a reliance on each other. We create a sense of well-being, of faith. So regardless of what we're experiencing around us today, we have to find strength in each other, that we have to search for meaning in our lives, and we learn from the stories of others. I want to finish by telling the story of a person by the name of Morris Schnitzer, who recently passed away at the age of 98 in Ottawa. His journey in life, his story, is an example of how we sustain our faith through the most difficult of times. Morris was born in Germany. As a youth in the mid-1930s, when bad things were starting to happen to the Jews, Morris's mother, having watched many others leave the country, arranged for Morris and his brother to go to Belgium in 1938. Morris's brother, because he was under 15 years old, made it to England and ended his journey in Montreal. Morris wasn't so lucky. As a teenager, he spent the war years wandering through occupied Europe, assuming different names and living as a farm helper. Later in his life, he wrote a book about his exploits called My Three Selves. He related that the essence of his survival during these years was his faith in the goodness of people. Indeed, he met many families that went out of their way to hide him, to say he was their child, to help him. His faith in humanity remained strong, even though he lost all of his family, except his brother, of course, during the Holocaust. As I met with Morris in Ottawa, I heard from his words, I sensed from his emotion telling his story, that during the most difficult and confusing time in his life, that others came to his side and protected him. Because of that, he told me, he never lost his faith. He said to me that his experiences, being exposed firsthand to the goodness of others, their protection, their support, gave him the strength and determination to survive. That is an essential lesson, that we recognize the kindness in others, the friendships we have, which help us sustain our faith. After the war, Morris's brother made contact with Morris and brought him to Montreal. He went to McGill University, where a chemistry professor mentored him. Morris ended up with a PhD and became a world-recognized expert in agricultural sciences and traveled the world helping others. The reason I mention this is because Morris found meaning in his life during and after the war. He never gave up. As he said to me, he felt something was guiding him. He sensed that something was protecting him and that it was expressed by the goodness in the people he met. I believe that the example of his story is one that shows how we can preserve our faith during these difficult times through family and our friendships. To me, the answer to the question before us is that as we have to strive to find meaning in our lives, that we have to stand up for each other and do good deeds and know that all will be well if we work together, that we ask questions and seek answers and believe. Faith is believing that there is something much greater than our individual selves, something guiding humanity to bring us into the Messianic age. And in the meantime, we have to have hope, to believe, and by working together, we gain confidence in our ability to overcome issues that arise. Thank you.
You're making my job easy. Thank you. The next speaker we have is on the Hindu perspective, and forgive me if I mispronounce your name, Vaibhav Nandwana.
Yeah, I go by Boni. Usually people call me Boni, so yeah, I'm good with that too.
Oh, okay. Good enough.
Okay, so yeah, good evening again, everybody, and thank you so much, Ahmadiyya Muslim Society, to organize this wonderful event. It's always great to be here with you guys. And of course, congratulations for your 11th anniversary. So yeah, let's come to today's theme, which is how to keep faith alive in present day. And I think Doris said before, or sorry, I forgot the name. No, Bev said that. I think I also agree that Ahmadiyya Muslim Society is setting up a good example by organizing these events throughout the year and keep all the religions in touch, as well as during this pandemic time, COVID time. We can definitely appreciate technology here. So let's talk about Hinduism a little bit, and I will try my best to relate Hinduism with today's topic and theme, which is how to keep faith alive in present days. So I would talk about a little bit Hinduism. Probably many of you know already, Hinduism is not derived from single scripture or source. It has numerous scripture, most of which were composed in a remote past. The Vedas are considered the oldest and divine in origin, hence they are also inviolable. Other texts are inspired by God or goddess or gods, but composed by humans. They are also sacred and revered, and one of them are like Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, Sutras, Shastras, Ramayana, and Mahabharata. The Puranas are considered most sacred. In addition, there are also many commentaries and summaries and compositions in multiple languages, which are useful for the practice of religion. The strength of Hinduism is mainly derived from its scripture, as well as I personally believe strength of Hinduism is because it's come from different sources. Bev also mentioned the same thing, that in Christianity also there are lots of different things. So does in Hinduism. There are lots of different, means there's no particular set Bible for Hinduism. There are lots of different books for Hinduism. I would touch some of most important basic pillar of Hinduism and religion, which are dharma and karma, which probably you heard before what dharma is and karma, which explain itself. So, and does focus on today's theme, which is how to keep faith alive in present day. So let's talk about dharma first. So dharma in common meaning, dharma means right way of living and path of rightness. It derived from Sanskrit language, which is ancient Hindu language, root word meaning of uphold or sustain. The concept behind dharma is anything that uphold or sustain in positive order. For example, an individual, a family, a community, a nation, and the universe all help uphold order. Bottom line of dharma is to do the right things and treat the people the way you like to be treated. Next one is karma. Karma, there's a very famous quote about karma is what goes around comes around. And as we all watch movies, and in movies they use it in a funny way, and they say karma is a dash, dash, dash. You can fill in the blanks. But what actual meaning of karma is here, in simple word, getting what you live, what you give, or reaping what you sow. There is a good and bad karma, but I think for anybody to really feel the effect of karma has to know what is the right from the wrong. However, people have a different way of thinking, value, and different opinion each thing. But definitely we can separate right and wrong, I think, in every culture and religion and all over the world. In a nutshell, I do think how to keep faith alive in today's day. These are some basic guidelines, and to follow these basic principles for dharma, which means do the right thing, and karma, and dharma, karma, and good deeds to keep the faith alive in present state. I also do believe these are the basic teaching of all the religion from all around the world. Yes, that's all done. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.
So
Just give me a
5 minutes, I took 5 minutes. I took my watch on here.
You did. You have 4 minutes and 13 seconds left. That was very good. Thank you very much. Up next, we have Harpreet Singh to talk to us about the Sikh faith perspective. Harpreet is one of the most accomplished journalists and a multifaceted personality who has the distinction of having worked with some of the top print and electronic media outlets in India and Canada. Welcome, Harpreet.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a great honor and pleasure to be a part of this conference today. And I'm thankful to the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jama'at for taking this initiative for the past so many years, which gives an opportunity to all of us to join and understand about the virtues of every religious text. And I have learned a lot from what my previous speakers have spoken. And of course, I can borrow a lot of time from those who have left the time. These are testing times, and faith is what is required, because faith is going to take us further as belief. That system of belief is the one which is going to take us over. Our reading is Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh, which means the pure belongs to the Lord and victory be to God. And there is a saying in our religious text which we speak every day when we pray. It is said, Nanak Naam Chardi Kala, Tere Pane Sarbata Bala. Nanak says, Nanak, the founder of Sikhism, because Sikhism is a way of life. Prayers and rituals are essential, but they're not the way. They cannot lead us to God. This is what Sikhism says. The only way we can reach God is by following the dictates of what has been told to us and incorporate that in our daily life. And that is why Guru Nanak said, the founder of this religion said, truth is high, but higher still is truthful living. So how we incorporate those things in our daily life is very important. And as I said, Nanak Naam Chardi Kala Tere Pane Sarbata Bala, every day we say that. And Nanak says that only being with God can keep us in high spirits. And we every day pray for the welfare of humanity. And this is what every religious text teaches us. Now, basically, Chardi Kala, which means in high spirits, always be in high spirits. These are testing times, we know, but this also shall pass, as we know. So there is nothing to worry, but rather this is the time to do introspection. And I believe this time has come as a blessing in disguise for many people who are utilizing this time for the benefit of not only themselves, but for the community and the world at large. Sikhism focuses on 3 aspects. It is said, Kirit Karo, Naam Japo, and Van Chapo. Kirit Karo means work hard. You will hardly find anywhere in the world any beggar who is a Sikh, because we believe that we need to work hard, not only to sustain ourselves, but because we have to contribute back to the community also. And the third concept is Van Chapo, which means distribute what you have with the needy. And this probably you might have seen in this pandemic all over the world. The Sikhs have been praised for coming forward and distributing food at those places where nobody was willing to go. So that concept has been ingrained in us. And the most important thing is Naam Japo, that remember God. Now, what does remembering God means? Remembering God doesn't mean that we just read the text, but the focus is to whatever is being said, to use it when it falls on us. We get inspired very easily when we hear good things, but when it falls on us, many times we just run away. But that is the testing time, and this is what God has brought us, this testing time of Corona, where we are sitting self-isolated But now is the time that we can do something good, not only for ourselves, but for the community also. So what does Chardi Kala means? Chardi Kala means to be in high spirits. No worries, that's fine. If there is day, there has to be night. And if there is night, there has to be day. So let it happen. But whatever is happening is the will of God. Accept it. Because until unless we accept it, because there is a saying in Gurbani which says, Tere Pani, Jotud Pave Sai Palikar, that God, whatever is happening, it is your will. I'm a mere instrument. I'm playing my role in this world. And we say, E Srira Meria is jag mein aaye ke kya tud karam kamaya, ke karam kamaya tud Srira jatu jag mein aaya. Oh person, you have come to this world. What is your purpose in life? Have you realized that? Well, we are doing our duties, which we should do, which is essential to feed ourselves, to keep ourselves. But until unless we realize what is our purpose, we will probably waste our life, which has been given to us, and we have come on this earth. So to be always in high spirits, Lord, it is your will, and I submit to your will. This is the most important principle of Sikhism. The second is ever progressive. Be in a state of progressive, that positive mindset. Until unless, today even science also proves that with a positive mindset, we can not only change ourselves physically, but mentally also. The mind-body connection, which is being taught in science today, has been proved, has been written in our text thousands of years before. And if we incorporate that in our life, we will be always progressive. Today, the world is facing a major challenge of mental crisis. Mental health is a major issue. But if we are ever progressive and we accept the will of God, we will not fall into that trap. Then is always cheerful. Because if you have a positive mindset, you will not complain. Oh God, why are you doing this? You will accept it. And once you accept this, you will be cheerful. Unwilling spirit, unwitting spirit, that's fine. If this has come, God, I will find a way to surmount this also. That unwitting spirit will induce us to do something good for not only ourselves, but for the community also. A mind that never despairs, as I've already talked, that we need to never admit defeat and refuse to be crushed by adversities. And this is the time when we need to incorporate that, because right now, there's a major issue which is happening in our communities, which I would like to share with you. The good and the bad is always to be seen. The goodness, we are seeing that people are helping each other. Strangers are coming further. Communities are coming together and working as a global community to bring solace to those who are needy. But on the other hand, there are some alarming statistics which we need to start looking upon. And this is what our faith teaches us, because the entire human race is one. This is what my guru, my teacher tells me. Domestic violence is a major issue, and you'll be surprised and shocked that 243 million cases have been reported by the United Nations in the past 1 year of increased domestic violence. And these are the ones which are reported cases. What about those which are not reported? So this is a time when we need to stand up and say, enough is enough. This will not be tolerated. And this is what our faith, our belief is, that we all, if we start raising voice on this issue, this can stop. Because whether it is a developing country or a developed nation, it is the same everywhere. The mentality is the same. Our faith teaches us to change that mentality so that we bring the positive desired impact. Hunger is another major issue, what we are seeing. We have seen that this coronavirus has really affected the poorest of the poor, whether it be in India or somewhere else, or Pakistan, or any other country. The poor are suffering because they're not getting the jobs. So whatever way we can come forward and help them, this is our duty. This is mandatory on us, that they are our brothers and sisters, and we need to come forward. As I talked about mental health issues, again, this is again a major crisis, because especially our elders who are remaining confined to homes, they are the ones who are suffering the most. So just a call to them can change their life, I would say, at this time. And this again is our duty, that we should remember our elders who are our relatives, our friends' relatives. But along with that, we should also take this initiative of reaching out to those people for whom there is no one. So that also is imperative, that we need to follow this. Financial stress is another major issue, because anxiety is there. People don't have jobs, they're losing their jobs. So whatever way we can come forward and contribute in whatever way, we should come forward and help those people so that their faith in humanity is not lost. Because until unless we come together as a global community, because now the world is one. I'm sitting in Surrey, you are in Whitehorse, somewhere is in Burnaby or Abbotsford, and the entire world is watching. So this has brought us further together, and we need to start working on these grounds. And most important time is time to work on ourselves. We always are working for others, but we do not take out time for ourselves. And my brother Umair Khan talked about the physical aspect. I will not touch that, and I'll save that time. And I'll learn some things from him later on. Other thing is emotional. We are passing through an emotional roller coaster, and we need to have that positive mindset that this also is about to pass, and take the support. The resources are there. We need to come forward, and the stigmas attached need to be talked about. It's a major stigma in our communities. We do not come forward and talk. What will people say? We have to come out of that and start working on this. And mental is positive affirmations, because our religious texts also are positive virtues which they tell us to incorporate in our life, and we need to start following those. So action speaks. Fine. Finally, thank you very much. Action speaks louder than words, and let's start working on those. Thank you.
Hey, Bill, you're on mute.
Sorry, I got it. I was just, thinking about some of the words that you have spoken there are exactly what we've been experiencing here in the North. And domestic violence is on the rise. Mental health is a #1 issue, even amongst our youth. And financial stresses, all of those things. As a leader, I was really thinking about this lately, because we've just gone through a year like never we've ever gone through before. And for me, at one point, it was so extremely stressful. The stress was just unbelievable, because I have 250 families, households within this community, which adds up to about maybe 600 citizens within our community. And then we have citizens across Canada that we're responsible for the health and well-being of these individuals. And, trying to keep them safe, and trying to, keep the virus out of our community. And, I thank the Creator every day, because it showed up around us, but it never came into our community. And I'm so incredibly grateful for that. But, one thing I've been thinking about lately is my own self, taking care of myself. And I forgot to do that, and it started to catch up to me. And now I've been trying to focus a bit more on myself now that things have subsided a little bit. But, I think we need to all really think about those words, and in fact, all the words that were spoken tonight. And I just want to thank you all. And I hope, the next time we're able to do this in person, let's pray for that. And, I want to thank Rizwan for reaching out to me once again, and asking me to moderate. And, you're such a gracious host. And, it's by having these conversations can we begin to bring down barriers between us, and hopefully spread tolerance and acceptance and understanding in its place. I enjoyed the conversations, and look forward to running into some of you on the streets of Whitehorse. Thank you very much, and goodness cheese masi cho shoni thun merci. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. Thank you for all of you. I'll start with the moderator. Thank you very much, Chief Doris Bill, that been kind enough to take your precious time out and moderate this conference. Similarly, the speakers, you have done an awesome job. staying on time. This is one of the conference that we can probably finish 1 minute earlier than late. Last one, we went over half an hour. And I start to get the text messages. You promised that it will end 7:30. So I said, I promised, but they did not promise to me. So moving on to the volunteer, those help us to organize this event, especially Tahir Ahmed, who helps us every time to behind the scene, to control this channel, and similarly youth leader and all that help us to promote this event too. Thank you very much, all of you. I have to say especially thanks to United Church for allowing us to host a program in their Lewis Hall every year. So we missed that opportunity and hope to do that next year in March that we normally organize. So I see the thumbs up, so we're ready for that. So we'll see you. I'm pretty much sure that this will be over by that time. As I see the neighbor in the south is getting a vaccine every day. So probably they can ship some of them to us that we can recover faster. Especially thanks to guests those join. There are a number of guests that we'll find after 2 or 3 hours that how many numbers are in total. So thank you all of them for joining, especially from the Whitehorse. We have some friends that are joining very far from here. You'll be surprised to know the country that I'm going to read now. I start with Guyana, British Guyana in South America, where my son lives actually. He is joined from there. And from United States, a number of my friends lives there, and they have joined from there. And from Jamaica, ex-missionary who also came to your town, Mr. Tariq Azim, he has sent me always a message that I was watching a conference and it was awesome. By the way, Mr. Maulana Umar Khan was also in Jamaica, served as a missionary there. And especially for those rest of the Canada, those members help us to organize and support this event. I got the text messages and I was applying while I was watching and listening to you that they were sending we are online from Toronto, from Montreal, from Calgary, from very part of the city, very parts of the Canada. So thank you very much, all of you. May God bless you. We apologize we weren't able to serve you East Indian dinner. Probably that could be sponsored by the Mr. Harpreet Singh, but we have a rain check for that. So they're actually Sikh temple were very supportive of that. Always when you host here in Victoria and Abbotsford in our area, half the food is provided by the Sikh temple all the time. So they take pride of that, and we are very much obliged to them that they have such support for this. With these notes, I thank you, all of you. Thank you, Chief, for spending precious time and all your speakers. May God bless you. And thank you, Regional President and Honorable Larry Wagner, a very kind person. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good night, all.
Okay, good night, all. See you next year, Rick.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone.